Welcome to Can Television. We're here with Chicago Counterpoint Television, a television program, part of the Fatherhood Educational Institute. Great show, and it's great to be here. It was pretty tough getting here because I just finished a trial in Waukegan, so I had to move very quickly. But fortunately, I was able to get here in the nick of time, and it's a great show. And I'd like to let everybody know that Chicago Counterpoint TV is brought to you by the Fatherhood Educational Institute, a not-for-profit. The website is fatherhood-edu.org, and the website is fantastic. I'll give you a snapshot of the website. It's right on your TV screen. And thank you for joining us. And today we're going to have a fantastic show. And before I introduce our guest to you, I'd like to thank you for welcoming us into your homes. Thank you. And today we have Maureen Gorman, an attorney I have a lot of respect for. She does a lot of good work. She's handled many DCFS appeals, and she's done a great job. And it's a real honor to have her here. And Maureen, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome
it's a
to
pleasure. Thank you.
And it's great to have you here. And we're waiting for our callers. And if anybody wants to get on the air, you can call the telephone number on your television screen. And our first caller, you're on the air. I'm Attorney Jeffrey Leving, hosting Chicago Counterpoint, and we have Maureen Gorman here to answer your questions. What can we do for you?
Well, thanks for taking my call. I have an important question on behalf of my brother. He's got two boys, and the mother used to live in Naperville with him, where there's very good schools, and she just moved out of the area to an area with not very good schools, and she wants to take the kids and re-enroll them in the school where she's living now with her boyfriend. And I know that doesn't sound right, and I wanted to see what can he do, what are his rights.
Well, we have attorney Maureen Gorman here, and Maureen, could you please answer this caller's
Yes.
important, very important question?
Right. Obviously, we all want the best schools for our children, and depending on where it is she moved to, she may not be allowed to do that without either the court's approval or your brother's consent. There's a new law, new Illinois Marriage and Dissolution of Marriage Act, and it governs certain moves. Depends on which county you're in. It may be either 25 or 50 mile limitation. So it's definitely worth it for your brother to look into it because she may not be following the law.
Okay, and I hope that was helpful, caller. And keep in mind, fatherhood means always protecting your child. And thank you for calling in. Our next caller, you're on the air, Chicago Counterpoint TV. I'm the host, Jeffrey Leving, and we're very fortunate. We have attorney Maureen Gorman here tonight. What can she do to help you tonight?
Okay, somebody that I know is being investigated by the Department of Children and Family Services, and can they just go and talk to them themselves, or should they talk to a lawyer first? What do you think?
Well, I believe they should talk to a lawyer first. The DCFS representatives will always say, oh, you don't need a lawyer, and we're just going to ask you a few questions. There's really nothing wrong. Everything will be fine. And they're really not telling the truth because at that point they either have made up their mind or they don't know what they're going to do or what they're going to find or what they're going to decide. So it's always best to talk to a lawyer first before talking to DCFS.
Nothing can replace competent legal counsel. And a lot of innocent victims believe they don't need an attorney because they believe they're innocent. Wrong. I found over the years it's much more difficult representing an innocent man than one who is guilty. I have a very good friend, a colleague, who's helping a man who was incarcerated for about 25 years for a crime he didn't commit. It's terrible. Crime he didn't commit. It's unfortunately more difficult helping someone who's innocent. So obviously, in my opinion, counsel is important. If you want any more information on the Fatherhood Educational Institute, 312-795-9060. And the website's fantastic, fatherhood-edu.org. Here's a snapshot of the website. So please take a look at the website. And we appreciate all your calls. And the next caller, welcome to the show. I'm attorney Jeff Loving, and we're very fortunate to have Maureen Gorman here. I just put a cough drop in my mouth because I'm dry because I was in court handling a very important case today. So the cough drop is a big help. Maureen, caller, what's your question?
Thank you very much. If my question is, if a parent takes a child to another state without permission, what's the immediate thing that one should do?
Not give up hope, and Maureen, please help this caller.
Yeah, the first thing they should do is get legal representation and go to court, because time is of the essence when a parent has taken a child to another state. There's not a big window of time where the parent who's still here needs to get the child back through the court system. And the courts will help parents retrieve their children, because they're not supposed to take children just to another state and either hide them or never return or anything like that. So court will help them, but they got to move quickly.
Maureen is correct. The UCCJEA, the Uniform Child Custody Jurisdiction Enforcement Act, has a 6-month limitation. So if a parent is victimized and his child is taken out of state, if you don't move within 6 months, after 6 months, pursuant to the Uniform Child Custody Jurisdiction Enforcement Act, there's a presumption that jurisdiction lies in the state the child was taken to, even if the child was wrongfully taken to that state. So there's all types of different time limits in the practice of law, so be careful. And if you have any questions, the Fatherhood Educational Institute is a great charity. You can always call. Caller, we have another caller, so we're going to have to take the next caller. Caller, you're on the air, Chicago Counterpoint. I'm the host, Jeffrey Loving, and we have attorney Maureen Gorman here. What can she do for you tonight?
Well, my girlfriend has taken off with our 2 children, and she won't tell me where she is and won't let me see them. They're 2 10-year-old boys, twins, and I don't know what I can do and what my rights are.
All right, Maureen, keep in mind it's always impossible until it's done. Please help this caller.
Right. Well, you have a lot of rights. You're the father, and you have a right to know where your children are, a right to be with your children, a right to have a relationship with your children. So the first thing you should do is take some action in court, preferably with a competent, a very experienced attorney in these matters. Don't try to just take the law into your own hands. You don't know where she is anyway. But there are ways of finding people, even if they don't want to be found. And you need to move quickly so that your children are safe and your relationships with them are safe.
Exactly. Great advice, or great educational advice, I should say. And caller, check out the Fatherhood Educational Institute. They have a fantastic Twitter account at Fatherhood EDU, and a Facebook as well, Fatherhood Educational Institute. And you can see the website online and the phone number, which is 312-795-9060. Great website. Here's a snapshot of the website. And it looks like we have a lot of callers holding, so we'll get the next caller on the air. Caller, you're on the air. I'm attorney Jeff Loving with attorney Maureen Gorman. What can she do for you tonight?
Yes, hi. If a father is accused of harming a child, and
Caller, we can't hear you. If you could speak up a little louder, we'd greatly appreciate it. Hello?
Yes. Hello?
Yeah, we can barely hear you, caller.
Oh, okay. Yes. Hello. You know,
Could you please speak up? Because if not, we're going to have to go to another caller. All right, we can't hear you, so please call back. And could you please put the next caller on, Jennifer? Caller, you're on the air with Attorney Loving and Gorman. What can we do for you tonight?
Yeah, hi. Thanks for taking my call. I'm dealing with a situation where a friend of mine got divorced. Since then, the mom has gotten remarried. They have a couple kids together, and the boyfriend of the mom is like spanking the kids and yelling at the kids. I mean, what do you do in a situation like that when she's remarried and the new boyfriend is disciplining the kids? Like, can you do anything?
Wow, this sounds very, very alarming. Maureen, could you please help this caller?
Yes, there's certainly things you can do. The children have a right to be safe. Just because she's married to somebody new doesn't change that. And the biological father can go to court and get these things changed. And if necessary, get the even if they're married, get him out of the house if he won't stop. I mean, corporal punishment is kind of a touchy subject, but in court, pretty much the judges don't like it. And if that's not what you and your ex-wife were, doing, then no, that's just not going to be allowed. But he needs to go to court.
I was in court today in a case where the facts are somewhat similar to this one, and the judge was outraged and wanted the children safe and protected, was concerned about my client, and kicked not the boyfriend, but the opposing party, the parent, out of the home. Now, my client has exclusive possession. The opposing party, the other parent, was kicked out of the home, and the judge said, I want the opposing party, the other parent, out now to protect the children. So this is a good question, and it's similar to the case I just handled, which is the reason I had to move so fast to get here to get on the air timely. But we did get on the show, and we started it on time. Thank you for calling. And keep in mind, if you want to take a look at any information about the Fatherhood Educational Institute, it's a good charity. I respect the charity and everyone that does volunteer work for it. Check it out. Next caller, you're on the air. Chicago Counterpoint TV. I'm Jeff Loving hosting the program tonight, and we have Maureen Gorman here to answer your question. What can she do for you tonight?
Hi, I was just wondering if I could get some information concerning rights for grandfathers and grandmothers. We haven't been able to see our grandchildren for a couple of years, so I'd like to get some information.
Well, grandparents have rights, but they don't have them if they sit on them. Grandparents do have rights in Illinois, but you have to get into court and enforce them. And if you want information on rights, grandparents' rights, call the Fatherhood Educational Institute, and you can call 312-795-9060. And I don't know if you want to add anything to this. This is a very important issue because grandparents too many times are kicked to the curb when their grandchildren desperately need them, especially when there's parental conflict, heavy conflict. Now, we have another caller, so is there
Okay.
anything you want to add?
No, we'll go to the next
All right.
caller.
All right,
Thank
well,
you.
we'll take the next caller. As Maureen recommends, caller, you're on the air. Chicago
Yeah, hi.
Counterpoint. What can we do for you?
I'm real worried. I think I'm pretty sure my wife is cheating on me. Can I use that against her to get custody of my son?
Well, I will let Maureen Gorman respond. She's an attorney, and that's what she's here for. She's our legal commentator for the evening. But keep in mind, marital misconduct does not affect the classification and division of property or support. But if it impacts the best interest of the children, the answer is absolutely yes. And Maureen Gorman, if you would like to add anything to this,
Sure.
because this is important.
Yes, if it affects the children, which it usually does, because either the parent is leaving the children alone or supervised by somebody who's not proper, not appropriate. I mean, there's all kinds of circumstances where it would be the best thing for the children to be with the other parent than with the parent who's, not taking care of the children and is more interested in a new relationship than the family and the children. So yes, it can be used in that way.
All right, I hope that helped. And check out the Fatherhood Educational Institute. Follow FEI on Twitter at FatherhoodEDU. FatherhoodEDU. Next caller, welcome to the show, Chicago Counterpoint. I'm Jeff Leving, and we have attorney Maureen Gorman here to answer your question this evening to help out. What can she do for you?
Yeah, I have a friend who was served with an order of protection at work. He was completely embarrassed by this, and he read through it, and it's completely baseless. This woman made up all these accusations. He's going to go to court in a couple of weeks, and he doesn't think he needs an attorney. I told him it might be a good idea to have an attorney with him. I wanted to get your opinion on that.
Maureen, please help out.
Absolutely, he should get an attorney. This is what Mr. Levy was talking about a couple minutes ago. That people who think that who are in fact innocent think all they have to do is go in front of the court and tell their story, and the judge will believe them. And it's not always that way. And the consequences, the potential consequences, are so severe with an order of protection. Not only is there an order of protection, but if somebody even inadvertently violates it could go to jail. So yes, it's definitely in his best interest to get a lawyer before he goes to court.
Right, it's better to get a lawyer before he goes to jail, because a lawyer can possibly make the difference of him not going to jail if he's innocent. Don't think just because somebody's innocent they can't be convicted and end up incarcerated for a crime they didn't commit. All right? That's really important. Violation of an order of protection is a Class A misdemeanor, punishable by up to a year in jail. And in Cook County, that's the county. It's not a pleasant place for anybody. Caller, you're on the air. Chicago Counterpoint TV. I'm your host, Attorney Jeffrey Loving. Thank you for welcoming us into your home this evening. And Maureen Gorman is here to answer your question.
Thank you very much. I heard a new child support law just came into effect. Is that true?
Yes, that's true. Yes, that's true. Did you have a specific question, or I can talk generally about it?
Generally, please.
Oh, sure.
Well, let me ask you, what's really important is, and I just spoke to a former divorce judge, and she asked me, are there any ways the new child support law is helpful to fathers? And this former judge told me she believes it is. What is your opinion?
I share that opinion. I think that it depends on each individual case, but the one of the main things this child support law does is to make everything more fair. It takes into account both parents' income, not just the one. So it's more fair by taking into account that the other person may be making as much or more money than the one who is going to be paying child support. And there's other provisions that, for example, if you have the child a lot, half time or so, there's a different formula, and they're trying to tailor it so that it's more fair for everyone, and particularly for fathers.
Does that help, caller? Well, I hope that helped the caller, because it's a very important question, because there is a new child support law in Illinois, and it's complicated, and not everybody understands it. It's a very new law, and it's very important. Next caller, you better take the callers, because apparently Jennifer is putting another caller on.
Oh, all right.
Caller, you're on the air, Chicago Counterpoint TV with Jeffrey Loving. What can we do, specifically Attorney Maureen Gorman, do to help you tonight?
I am calling on behalf of my uncle. My aunt and my uncle got divorced, and there were 2 children of the marriage, so the support was entered. Unfortunately, one of the children passed away, and my uncle's not sure what he can do to stop paying the current support, because with everything that happened, he has found it difficult to maintain that obligation.
All right, Maureen, this is a very important call. This call could probably take an hour to answer.
Right,
And we
right.
don't have that much time, but maybe you could give her a summary answer, and she could always call the Fatherhood Educational Institute if she wants to talk further.
Well, that's a very sad situation. I'm sorry for your family's loss. Yes, there's something he can do. You can go to court and get the order revised, and certainly the court will help him in that regard.
It would be important to review whatever court order you want to modify. It probably needs modification, but it would help to read it. So it would be important, and if you send the order to the Fatherhood Educational Institute, that could be one possible means to address the issue. And thank you for calling. Next caller, you're on the air. Chicago Counterpoint. I'm the host, Jeffrey Leving. What can we do specifically, Attorney Maureen Gorman, do to help you tonight?
Hi, thanks for taking my call. I have a friend whose children were taken away by DCFS. They made a finding of abuse, and now the children are with one of the sets of grandparents. When that happens, is there a process that he can still fight those allegations and get his children back?
Yes, there's definitely a process. The case would generally be in juvenile court when children are taken away, and parents are given a lot of opportunities to show the court that they deserve to get their children back. There are a lot of hoops that DCFS or whatever the state is, the Child Welfare Department, a lot of hoops you have to go through, and a lot of parents get very discouraged because they feel rightly that they are good parents and maybe just some incident happened that was unfortunate. But the reality is the parents really need to do what DCFS tells them to, and if they follow everything, there's a good chance to get the children back. But they cannot give up hope. They cannot get too discouraged, because there is light at the end of the tunnel. There is hope.
All right, never give up hope, and keep one thing in mind: it's always impossible until it's done. We appreciate you calling in and welcoming us into your home this evening. Now, there is 1 minute left of the show, so we don't have a lot of time. And I did want to ask Maureen Gorman, what is a DCFS safety plan? But there's not enough time, unless you can answer that in about 15 seconds.
I'll do my best. The safety plan is a plan that DCFS puts into place, usually very early in an investigation, to keep children safe. Unfortunately, there are bad things that can be about safety plans if they are punishing innocent parents. So you really need expert legal representation in these DCFS cases.
All right, and also I'd like to thank Maureen for appearing on the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
And I'd like to congratulate you for receiving the 2017 Children's Rights Award by your peers in the legal community.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That was a great honor.
And I'd like to thank our listening audience for tuning in, because we're off for a very short period of time, and we appreciate you waiting and still being there for us to get back on the air again. And I'd like to let everybody know that we'll be here next Thursday, same time, same place, next Thursday, 7:30 p.m. And keep in mind, all dads matter. God bless.